This is where I'm going to come in and tell you my pitch for an RPG in the Zelda series. And it's going to be vastly different from your guys's because I think in principle you guys kind of line up on what you would like to see for an RPG. But what I would like to see from an RPG is first and foremost, this is going to be taking place outside of the series proper, and Link won't be involved. So Link is just he's doing his own thing. Link is the master of the action adventure genre. That's awesome. He can have that. My RPG stars Princess Zelda. Um, so what I wrote an article about this like over a year ago, and I'm basically just going to regurgitate what I said there. So my ideal vision of a Zelda RPG would be first of all, the battle system would be traditional. It would be an old school ATB system. And if I had to liken a game that it would mimic, it would be Final Fantasy XII. In that you don't have random battles, but you do, when you pass by an enemy, you focus on that enemy and you engage battle mode, and your ATB fills up, and you can command all of your different playable characters to attack that enemy. So mine is not going to be a traditional action RPG because I just think that there's something unsatisfying about in Skyrim when you're fighting an enemy and you just blast him with fire and you can run around everywhere. I like kind of the feeling of like seeing that one awesome boss that you can't really get away from. He has like a million HP and you gotta like strategically take him down. So the fundamentals of my Zelda RPG would be set in a more traditional place. And I know that that's not really popular with a lot of people now, and that, I mean, you're right, Sav. If you didn't grow up playing those kind of RPGs, you're probably not really hankering for them to come back, but whatever.
Yeah.
YOLO. So that's kind of the battle system that I'm going to implement into my RPG. My RPG is going to be, I would say, more focused. It's I recently just finished playing Xenoblade Chronicles 2, and that game's story was just such a mess because nothing made sense. You could go. It had awful characterization. You didn't. You just didn't have a reason for doing anything. So my story is going to be very very focused. That's going to be the number one priority. Um, like world building, I want to have a vast world that you can go explore. Again, kind of like Final Fantasy XII had, where you can take on like different monster quests and different side jobs and whatever. But the focus on narrative is going to come first in this Zelda RPG, I think. So that being said, like I would like to have a vast open world for players to explore, um, but at the same time, I don't want to sacrifice narrative and story like I think that Breath of the Wild did. If that makes sense to you guys.
So would you
Yeah, they. Yeah.
so would you implement something like Ocarina of Time, and where you have a clear destination that you need to go to, but you can kind of go off and do some other things in the meantime before you are forced to progress?
Yes, I would. I would definitely have like there. When you open the map, like the marker of where you need to go is there. But what I wouldn't have is the Skyrim Breath of the Wild like little tracker thing at the top that shows that you're like 2,000 steps away from your destination because I think that that's just super lame.
I
So
hated that thing, to
that
be honest. I was not a fan of that.
I feel like it just ruins games because like you end up just looking at how many steps away you are rather than looking around you at the world.
Yeah, I'm
Um,
I'm not a fan of that in The Witcher 3 as well. It implements a similar system where you always have a guidance kind of thing. Oh yeah, you're X amount of time away. Well,
I feel
and
like a lot of
Assassin's
RPGs
Creed
do
was one
that
of the
too.
first games I remember.
yeah,
Yeah,
it's
they
pretty
do.
standard
I
now.
love Assassin's Creed.
So I think that I would just get rid of that, and like and kind of I think I'd have a log like Breath of the Wild did that has it keeps track of all your side quests and it keeps track of the main story, but and you can go and do things in that order. But I think that my game would definitely want to put the focus on completing the main narrative first. Kind of striking that fine balance between exploration, but like ideally the game's plot is going to be so good that you want to progress with it.
So you're flying in the face of all the Zelda memes ever, where Link is distracted utterly by all the side quests and stuff around him, and where he
No,
takes
I'm not
forever.
flying in the face of that at all, because he ain't in this game.
That's true.
He's off fishing.
But Zelda takes the place of Link
generally
in this.
speaking, yes.
But yeah.
So, my another reason that I've chosen the ATB system for this particular RPG is that I always thought that it would be so cool to have a game featuring the 7 sages as playable characters, with Zelda obviously being their leader, because
That'd be cool.
it makes, it's like one of those things that just fits. You know what I mean? Like when I think of something that was born to be an RPG, like Zelda and the 7 Sages, Frodo and the Fellowship of the Ring. Like, it seems like it fits. So each one of them would obviously have their own elemental powers, and I'm kind of basing this off the Sages in Ocarina of Time, but they wouldn't have to be them specifically. So each one of them could have, like, you know, one of them is water focused, one of them is fire focused, and etc., etc. And each of them kind of, you know, brings their own strengths and weaknesses to the team, and it's just that one of the things that I always love. Yeah, kind of. I'm a big fan of the old Final Fantasies, right? And so one of the things that I always loved is just having that roster of characters that has their own personalities and has their own quirks and brings their own, you know, flavor to each battle. So that's something that I really want my Zelda RPG to have. So story-wise, it would kind of, I guess you could kind of call it like maybe an origin of the 7 Sages, of how they came to be. Maybe it could be something that focuses on, you know, whoever came before the Sages in Ocarina of Time. Maybe it could be something that focuses on them after Ocarina of Time. But something along that vein, where like you get to explore these characters and you get to, you know, visit like the different dungeons and stuff like that, while still having like those incredible RPG bosses, and you'd still have, you know, the healer, you'd still have the tank, you'd still have the dragoon, whatever. Like, you'd still kind of have those distinct roles that everybody could fill. So that's when I say it'll be a little bit more focused. That's what I kind of mean.
Okay. So the all-important question then, Sav, would you play Andy's game?
Probably.
That sounded more like a no than a yes.
Well, the only thing that, you know, it would be a turnoff for me is the battle, whatever.
The battle system.
Oh God. Yes, that. Thank you. That would be the only turnoff for me. Other than that, everything else, I mean, like Zelda and the Sages, I would be 110% for that. So then I would say yes then.
So translate Andy's story into your game and you'd play it.
Yes.